like 1929. Mark my words, I can write about everything.
Yep, the entire fate of the American economy wholly rests on whether Donald Trump is president. He's doing well in the polls, and that's why businesses are investing in stuff. That's how businesses work, I think. And also, if he loses, then the economy will crash. I mean, I don't remember the economy crashing in 2020, but you might say, well, he's not talking about that election. He's talking about 2024. Oh, no. He said the exact same thing last time. He literally said February 25th, 2020. Trump says stock market will crash if he loses election. But now the economy not only has not crashed, is doing so well that he is clownishly trying to claim credit for it, okay? Here is what the economy actually looks like. There was a crash after that February tweet, by the way, but it was in March of that year. And we have since recovered, and we have reached highs never reached under Donald Trump, nor literally anyone else. We've hit the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is a thing that exists and does something, I don't know what, hit 40,000 for the first time ever. That's why he's claiming credit. And bear in mind, he loved the current president claiming credit for the stock market back when he was president, talking about record highs for the S&P 500. That's another thing that exists, and the NASDAQ, which I hear exists. The Dow Jones crashes through 25,000. Stock market hit 25,000. Dow just broke 25,000. Well, if you like 25,000, what do you think about 40,000, Donald Trump? It's bigger. I don't know what the NASDAQ is, but I know 40 is bigger than 25. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the Damage Report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you. And interestingly, when he was claiming that, it was never the responsibility of the fact that it looked like a Democrat would replace him and he wouldn't get a second term. That's not how that worked back then. But now, months and months out from the election, there is tons of investing and business activity and all of this stuff because people think that Trump someday could be president once again. It is utterly clownish, and Biden's campaign is going to clown him, and we'll get to that in a minute, but Brett, what do you think?
I mean, okay, so the Dow and all those other averages or in those indexes are essentially, they just take a big group of companies and they say the value of them. And if that big group, it's kind of indicative of the overall amount of money. It's like a survey works. Like there's enough people that we look at to see how most people feel about the question we're about to ask them. This is just like, all right, S&P, here's 500 companies. If they all gone up or down, that kind of stuff. But like, here's what I would say. Donald Trump, the reason that the stock market is up right now has absolutely nothing to do with you. I know it's so difficult for Donald Trump to look around and think that anything in this world doesn't have to do with him, but it absolutely doesn't have to do with you. What has happened is in the wake of Joe Biden coming in, Donald Trump going out, they're like, well, neither one of these guys is going to fundamentally change anything. And the one thing that stocks mostly depend on is predictability or volatility. If things get scary, then the stock market gets scared and then there's a dip. But generally, like capitalism doing good. Now, is everyone doing good? No. Many people who do not invest in the stock market are not doing very well. Some of them are getting jobs. This is why job numbers goes up. Many go up. Many of them need 2 jobs. That's why job numbers go up. So what ends up happening, and there's a lot of analysis from a lot of really good, mostly lefty, but also just centrist randos on that just really like the economics. Is they just analyze that a lot of the things that we use typically to identify whether or not the economy is doing well, a lot of them really evaluate a certain type of person's enjoyment of that economy. And the 100%. Stock market is definitely an indicator, yes, sort of, on whether employment's gonna go up or down, people are gonna get jobs, but largely it's investors. How well are investors doing? Yeah. Because they're the ones who give money to companies and companies do stuff with that money. And many times those companies do things that increase, I mean, they're obligated to give return to the investors, not necessarily the people who buy the products or the people who work at those companies.
Yeah, and I think that we have always reminded people that this is one way of measuring the strength of the economy, and there are people necessarily left out of that. But we can also point out that this is the way people like Trump and the people he like measures the economy, and always did during his presidency. Well, this is the other side of that coin. I'm sorry, Trump. I know that you hate that things are going better in America, that the stock market is up, that inflation is down, that wages are a little bit up, that crime is down. You despise that those things are happening because you would rather that America and its people suffer if that increases the chance of you becoming president. Everybody understands why you're making this clownish attempt to claim credit for it, but we're not gonna let it slide. Really fast, let's go to Joe Biden on Trump and the stock market.
If Biden wins, you're going to have a stock market collapse, the likes of which you've never had.
The Dow 30 broke 40,000 for the first time in history. Look at that market.
On a year-to-date basis, we know that the markets have been relatively strong.
We see earnings increasing for the second quarter. We see record earnings estimates for the third and fourth quarter, and that's what really impresses me.
I've been doing this a long time. I never expected the Dow to hit 40,000.
Okay, so I like that they're taking a victory lap. It's not the sort of ad for me because I think that if you are a person, potentially a Biden voter, who is not doing well, seeing you take the victory lap in this particular corporation-focused area might not work for a lot of people. But Trump did make those predictions and they turn out wrong, so I get why they'd want to point that out.
Right. This ad to me proves that inflation is not based on the cost of making products and the supply chain going up. It's not that. It's that and it really is like there's a way to just look at this and be like, oh, Jerome Powell didn't lower interest rates again because inflation's going higher than he wants it. It's not runaway by any means, but it's not as great as he wants it to be. Meanwhile, the stock market's doing awesome, which probably means that the profits are are made because they're artificially inflating prices over what we would pay. Yeah. And then they're just taking that money and putting it in their pockets rather than lowering prices, which would be better for them in the long run because it would make money cheaper because the inflation would go down. So they just stopped artificially inflating their prices. Things will get cheaper. Powell will lower the interest rates, the housing prices will go up, all that stuff will happen together, but that's just not what they're doing.
For me, the reason we've talked about this a couple times is just because I think this is like peak Trump. Like he's claiming credit for something that he literally is not in a position to have anything to do with it. And I absolutely love that. And he'll claim like things will be safer if I become president. Well, things were utterly chaotic when you were president. We were literally dropping dead by the hundreds of thousands. The economy crashed while you were president. That's all. Like him denying the truth of what happened is one thing, but claiming credit for something that another president is at least around for. You don't even need to think that this is Biden's fault or that he deserves credit for it, but he deserves it way more than Donald Trump does. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.